I didn't see this one coming. This is from the New York Post. If I'm correct, it popped up from June 29th, which is yesterday at 9 a.m. Goes and the headline says Sean Diddy Combs might be cooked or key sex crime charge, experts say, as jury preps for deliberation. Some people are concerned that he may be acquitted, but if I read this thing correctly, there's a chance that he will be charged after all. Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking and racketeering trial came to a close after 7 weeks on Friday. So basically last Friday was the last day, as the rapper's defense team and prosecution completed closing arguments. So the closing arguments was last Friday. Both sides saw wins and losses throughout the trial, but experts claim Diddy might be cooked on one specific charge as the jury prepares for to deliberate. After his arrest in September 2024, the last night singer was charged with sex trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges. Of course, former Danity Kane singer and Diddy protege Aubrey O'Day have been following the trial and isn't sure what the outcome would be. While she personally believes the rapper would be guilty of all charges, the musician isn't sold on the prosecution case in the court. The rationale, just this side of me, that leads a good amount of what I do nowadays says the answer should be was proven by the prosecution, the law, and that's conflicting to what I want personally, she told Extra. Goes on to say, she noted, I don't know if the prosecution proved Diddy's crimes without a doubt. Yeah, you don't want any doubts. You have any doubts, that's where he could be acquitted. That's what happened to OJ. There's enough doubt to say, like, you know what? I don't think with 100% sure certainty he committed a crime. So if it followed the OJ route, yeah, he could be acquitted. But let's go on and see what it says as well. During closing arguments, the prosecutors argued that Diddy ran an illegal criminal enterprise with full control. They pointed out that the jury heard testimony, saw texts, viewed bank records, and heard audio showing the rappers committing crime after crime for decades. According to the prosecution, the government showed that Diddy didn't take no for an answer. Fact. Up until today, Diddy was able to get away with crime because of his money and power. Assistant U.S. Attorney Christine Slavic said, that stops now. Here's where experts say things stand for each charge against Diddy, with the jury about to deliberate. Transportation to engage in prostitution. As to the transportation to engage in prostitution charge, an expert told Fox News Digital Diddy might be in trouble. The sex workers were very clear about their role and their purpose for being transported across state lines. It was for sex and not something else, criminal defense attorney Eric Faddis explained. Diddy might be cooked on this charge. However, the defense did find a way to show the jury a different explanation in an attempt to undermine the government's argument. Defense got an employee of one of the companies to say Diddy was just buying the escort's time and want no sexual performance, which the jury could use as a basis to acquit Diddy on the transportation charges. Faddis, a founding partner of the Colorado-based Fonda Faddis, said. They got one for racketeering conspiracy. The jury is unlikely to find Diddy not guilty of racketeering. The criminal defense attorney John W. Day told Fox Digital, the only thing Diddy and his team can only hope for is a miracle where the jury stand by the government's claim that this was racketeering and Diddy was the head of the criminal enterprise dedicated to fulfill his desires. The founder of the New Mexico-based law practice, John Day Law, explains. A defense win is more likely if jurors are conflicted on the racketeering charges and can't reach an unanimous verdict. This could lead to a hung jury on one or more of the charges. But the jurors spent the entire trial waiting to see how Diddy's lawyers rebutted a massive case against him. They merely rested without putting on any witnesses. That leaves the jury picking for the government's case to see if this really rises to the racketeering. If not, they may hang or acquit on some of the charges, but it's unlikely. According to a legal expert, the prosecution presented overwhelming evidence that Diddy presided over this little kingdom of criminal activity designed to make him happy and make a compelling case to the jury that this meets all the elements of racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation for prostitution. The prosecution can withstand an acquittal or hung jury on some of the courts, but prosecutors really need a conviction for racketeering to claim total victory, they said. Again, the trial can be difficult to charge, to convict on if the jury stand by the theory that this entire business enterprise was engaged in sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution, but the defense needs to have convinced at least one juror that the case wasn't there and that witnesses were lying to save their own necks. And that's a tough sell to a juror that spent weeks listening to horrific testimony by Diddy and his empire. That is true. Diddy is not exactly the nicest human being in the world, and it's hard to get sympathy for a person who got a track record of being a total monster. Sex trafficking by force, fraud, coercion. Things aren't as clear-cut on the sex trafficking charge, one expert told Fox News Digital. Diddy was accused of sex trafficking. Two of his ex-girlfriends, Cassie Ventura and Jane, who testified under a pseudonym. The prosecution claimed the rapper transported both women across state lines and then forced them to have sex with male escorts while he watched. On cross-examination, both Cassie and Jane admitted to willingly participating in some of the freak-offs, which could cause jurors to wonder if all the romantic encounters may have been consensual. That is noted. Both Cassie and Jane admitted to voluntarily ingesting some drugs before the freak-offs, which may undercut the prosecution's coercion argument. The criminal defense attorney did note that Cassie and Jane will both give compelling equivalent testimony detailing physical abuse and financial coercion, which is true. If you got somebody who could control your life financially, otherwise, it's hard to say no to them. Facts. Whew, that was quite a read, folks. What are your thoughts on it, though? Is Diddy really cooked? Let me know in the comments down below. Any questions, any thoughts? Do not be afraid to speak up. Peace.